I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome. Today we're exploring a really profound teaching, Lesson 261. It touches on something central, I think, to many spiritual paths and even psychology, this idea of true security.
Where do we actually find our safety, our strength? This lesson challenges our usual ideas about refuge.
Yeah, it gets into that counterintuitive notion that sometimes the things we turn to for security are actually harmful to our peace.
Let's start with the lesson itself.
Okay, I will identify with what I think is refuge and security. I will behold myself where I perceive my strength and think I live within the citadel where I am safe and cannot be attacked. Let me today seek not security in danger, nor attempt to find my peace in murderous attack. I live in God. In Him I find my refuge and my strength. In Him is my identity. In Him is everlasting peace. And only there will I remember who I really am.
Let me not seek for idols. I would come, my Father, home to you today. I choose to be as you created me and find the Son whom you created as myself.
That opening line, seek not security in danger. It just jumps right out, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I know I've fallen into that, with work pressures or even just parenting. There was a time I kind of equated worrying all the time with being prepared, like anticipating every possible problem was some form of protection.
It feels protective, doesn't it? But the lesson suggests this comes from how we're seeing ourselves in the first place. If you perceive yourself as lacking something, maybe financial security, you might chase it through, say, a high-paying job or maybe juggling multiple jobs, piling up money.
Right.
But holding on to those external things doesn't bring lasting security because they can change in an instant. The need to please the boss, constantly watch the budget, guard against loss, that creates its own kind of stress, its own misery.
So the vigilance we think keeps us safe actually becomes the source of our anxiety.
That's the paradox.
It's this insidious cycle. The more you chase security outside, the more fragile your peace becomes. Your sense of okayness depends on things you just can't control, your boss's mood, the stock market, whether the door is double locked.
And that line, I will behold myself where I perceive my strength. It's like a diagnostic tool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's saying, hey, look, this is what you're doing. You're literally looking for who you are for your strength in places it just can't be found. And then the lesson gives the answer. I live in God. That's where the real strength is.
Yes, that phrase, I will behold myself where I perceive my strength.
It's brilliant because the teaching often starts by showing us the ego's current thinking rather than just telling us what to do.
So it's not an instruction to identify with false refuge. It's an observation of what we are doing, often without even realizing it. It holds up a mirror to our mistaken ideas. We're seeing our safety, our identity in these external things, the job, the money, the relationship, things we believe give us strength.
And that's what the lesson calls making idols, placing our faith in these external things for safety.
It is. These things offer this false sense of security in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
You give that job maybe the power to define your worth, right? Or provide a happiness you think you can't find otherwise.
Yeah, and you start to idolize it. The whole idea of just resting in unconditional love without threat, that can feel almost impossible when your identity is wrapped up in the ego's story.
So letting go of the idols feels like losing yourself, losing that special identity you've built.
It can, because the ego loves control, predictability. Those idols, even if they cause pain, they offer this illusion of certainty.
And the impact when an idol disappears, like losing that job, it's huge. It's not just about the money. It feels like your whole sense of self is under threat because you weren't just having the job, you were being the successful employee or whatever it was.
That's why the lesson points us inward toward a completely different foundation for who we are, a stable one. It requires this internal shift in perception.
Shifting your sense of strength from, the external, the fleeting, to the eternal. That sounds pretty daunting sometimes.
It does. The eternal can sound so lofty, maybe abstract compared to, the immediate feedback you get from a good salary or status.
And there's a trap even in spiritual stuff, isn't there? You can start idolizing being spiritual or enlightened.
Oh, definitely.
Seeking security and knowing the right answers, quoting the right things, being seen as a teacher. Still looking outside for validation, just dressed up differently.
It's the same pattern, just in spiritual clothes. And, that baseline insecurity, it often feels like just part of being human in this world we seem to live in.
Yeah.
Society can even reinforce it. You see someone who's genuinely trusting.
And people call them naive, a Pollyanna. If you're not constantly worried, it's like you're not facing reality.
It's almost like anxiety has become a badge of honor. Being stressed means you're serious, you're engaged. Peacefulness can look like you're checked out.
So the lesson turns that completely on its head. The worry we think protects us is actually the opposite of safety.
Try telling that to someone whose anxiety feels like the only thing holding their life together. It's like being asked to drop your security blanket.
But this blanket's made of razor wire.
Exactly. It enforces separation, this constant guarding, defending. It creates isolation.
And then we wonder why we feel lonely, disconnected. It's because we're so busy guarding the fortress, afraid someone might see who we think we really are underneath. We block the very connection we crave.
But that statement, I live in God, it suggests that love, that connection, can get through any defense. No fortress is actually strong enough to keep out that oneness. We can't really keep God out, however hard we might try.
That's a comforting thought. So if we really live from that place in God, our identity isn't tied to the idols anymore. The pain, when a job ends, for example, it becomes a lesson, a painful one maybe, but it shows you where your faith was misplaced. The lesson's pointing to the idea that real security, real worth comes from inside, from that connection to source. And when you get that, your relationship with everything changes. Jobs, money, relationships, they become tools, things you can use for a purpose, not masters you serve.
It's incredibly freeing. It changes the whole energy, holding things lightly instead of that desperate grip. When your job is just what you do, not who you are, maybe you even do it better because you're not dragging all that ego neediness into it.
And the shift in relationships must be huge. If you're not looking to someone else to complete you or make you feel secure.
You can actually see them, maybe for the first time, without your own needs clouding the picture.
It makes you ask, what are relationships for then, if not for finding our identity?
People. They can be the trickiest idols, can't they? Because loving someone feels so right. We make them substitutes for God, wrap our identity up in being their partner, their child, their friend.
Yeah.
So when a big relationship ends, that feeling of being completely unmoored, it's intense. The ego screams that something vital, something special about you has been lost.
But the teaching says nothing real can be threatened.
Right. So the fact that you feel lost points to the idea that what you were clinging to wasn't the ultimate reality of who you are. Your true self is still whole, still safe.
Wow. So the pain itself is the indicator light, showing where you put your faith.
That's one way to look at it. It highlights where your identity was invested. And people are complex idols because loving feels inherently good. It's not obviously problematic like, say, obsessing over money might seem.
There's a subtle but huge difference between loving someone and needing them to be a certain way for you to feel okay, isn't there? If my sense of self depends on you being my partner, then I'm not seeing you. I'm seeing you through the filter of my need.
Exactly.
Maybe real love is more possible when we're not desperately trying to get security from each other. If relationships aren't for finding identity, that's for higher purpose.
The Course suggests marriage or any close relationship is like a prime opportunity for spiritual growth. The real shift is in the content. Moving from trying to get something, validation, security, happiness, to a place of giving, of extending love without strings attached.
Finding your wholeness with them, not in them.
That's the idea. It changes everything.
That's a total flip from what's in it for me to what can I bring to this. It feels vulnerable, though, giving without demanding a return.
It does. It means relationships become these laboratories for practicing unconditional love, right? Moving away from keeping score or negotiating terms.
And if you're finding wholeness with someone, not in them, then their bad mood doesn't rock your world. Their success doesn't make you feel less than.
Their choices don't become a statement about your worth. It frees you both up.
Okay, that level of love sounds almost aspirational, like next level spiritual stuff.
Well, the good news is the teaching is patient. It doesn't demand perfection overnight. It just asks for that little willingness, you know, just cracking the door open a tiny bit. The Holy Spirit does the heavy lifting if we just try not to slam the door shut again.
The willingness.
Yeah.
It's key. Even that can feel hard when we're really attached. What about making idols out of our problems? You know, clinging to the story. I'm the person who struggles with money, or I'm just an anxious person.
Oh, absolutely. There's a weird comfort in the familiar misery, isn't there? It still gives you an identity, even if it's a painful one.
It seems so backwards. Why would we choose miserable and special over peaceful and maybe unknown? But suffering can feel more real sometimes than just being okay.
Yes, and you see this dramatically sometimes when someone's identity is completely fused with an illness or being a victim. Healing, moving on, it feels like annihilation, like losing who they are.
It's heartbreaking to see someone trapped like that, where getting better feels like losing themselves.
And that's why this lesson is so powerful. It insists your identity is totally separate from your history, your circumstances, your problems.
So the fundamental question becomes, if I'm not my trauma story, not my struggles, not even my wins, then what am I? The Course keeps pointing to this self that's beyond all that drama.
Which from down here can initially sound like nothing, like you just disappear.
Or maybe that's the real refuge, the freedom of not having to be any particular story. It reminds me of Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's book, My Stroke of Insight.
Maybe that's how you live without being desperately attached to outcomes, people, things.
To me, it sounds incredibly freeing.
Mm-hmm.
Being fully present for the experience without needing to own it or control it.
I think it's curiosity, not desperation. Maybe that leads to more genuine connection because you're not trying to get your identity from every interaction. We've kind of confused attachment with love.
That camera thing is such a good metaphor for how we try to possess life, isn't it? Like that sunset.
Yeah, trying to capture it with a camera instead of just being in it. If you're open to love, to friendship, without grasping, you can actually enjoy it moment by moment.
And it means you'll still feel sadness when things change, because they always do, but it won't be devastation. It won't mean you are lost.
And again, this doesn't mean don't get married, don't have friends. It just means don't make those things idols you worship for your security.
Finding refuge in God, as the lesson says. It's not about being detached and cold. It's about being so grounded in the unchanging that you can afford to let everything else just flow.
Exactly. That solid ground lets you feel everything, the joy, the sorrow, without your whole identity being on the line with every emotional wave.
And ironically, that probably makes you a much better spouse or friend because you're free from all that anxiety and neediness. You can just enjoy people.
So, did we manage to explore the lesson? We started with seeking security in danger.
Yeah, then we got into making idols, jobs, money, people, even our problems.
And ended up seeing that real security actually lets us enjoy life without desperately needing to control or possess it.
I think that covers the core journey of Lesson 261.
As we wrap up, maybe hold this thought. My sense of self is not found in people, places, or things. It is found only in the unchanging love of our source, which is within me now.
That's a powerful affirmation to sit with. Thank you for joining us today in this exploration. These lessons just keep unfolding, don't they?
They certainly do. We hope you found something meaningful today, and we look forward to welcoming you back tomorrow for Lesson 262.